out that way. So if they're all going to go to lunch in like a big group, I would say use the stairs so you don't have to keep calling them for multiple
So you
elevators.
can use the stairs,
You
okay.
can go down the stairs every time, but you can't come back in through the
Yeah,
stairs.
because they lock, yeah.
And everything else should be fine. The technicians here, they still don't know when they're actually going to be able to fix them, but we have the tech doorman person.
Okay, so the technician person is here, but still not able to fix it, eh?
No, well, he wasn't ever going to be able to fix it. They have a team coming out. They just don't know when the team is going to get here.
Oh, okay, so that team's still not here.
Yeah.
So still the same guy from the morning?
Nope.
Oh, a different guy.
We have the building technician now,
okay.
and he'll switch out at noon with another security guard. So
but let's say they can't figure out the elevator. Let's say they can't figure out the elevator by 2 o'clock or by 12 o'clock.
Then we have a guy till 6 at least.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. That's the important thing.
And then again, everybody can get out. You just can't come back in after 6 p.m. if they don't have another guy.
Right.
I don't know, but we're good until 6.
Okay.
So it should be fine, unless someone has issues using the stairs, in which case that one person can call.
And I'll let them know about the 5 o'clock mentor break, because that's the time to go quickly grab something.
Yes.
Before the becomes inaccessible, right?
And whoever the mentor is.
Oh, people getting in at 6. What about mentors getting in at 6? Yeah, good point.
Oh, somebody should have the. Well, again, I'm sure we'll get an update again. Like I'll get an update again from the tech when he switches with the next security guy to see if there's another one coming after him. But right now we're completely good until 6.
Okay, that's good. That's way better than what we knew before. Yeah. So that's good news.
So the only ones that would have an issue really are the day ones because they don't have key cards yet, so they can't get they won't be able to prove whatever. I guess they have sweatshirts now, so that's fine. But they can't even get in the front door.
So. Yeah, because they don't have a fob.
Right. But other than that, it's fine.
So when they go for lunch, they're gonna go outside the building. And
well, the tech
will know to buzz people, let people in, and just be a little bit more forgiving of like, who are you? Like, just let them in essentially.
Well, I can have them wear their sweatshirts and they say Lighthouse. I don't think that's gonna be.
It's not gonna be an issue, yeah.
Because they're gonna see what's going on. But if there's
worst case, they might be waiting outside for a bit until the security guys back down.
Right. That's it.
Okay.
But the important news is. And I tested it. It's fine. Everybody can get down the stairs and get out.
And we cannot take the elevators down. If somebody wants to take elevators down?
You have to call the guy. Okay. So if there's a large group, it would take a lot of elevator trips, whereas everybody goes down the stairs. It's easier.
There's currently no one down there right now working the elevators.
Yeah. Well, the tech is here somewhere.
Well, he
might
be in transit up and down, right?
But just an update, so you can use the stairwell.
Yeah.
You can
exit.
We just tested the door. Your fob will work.
But you can't just get in at the bottom.
Can we not ask him to just unlock that stairwell? I guess going up 16 floors is going to be, or 6 floors
it's
actually, so it's okay. 6 floors, yes, it's fine.
I don't think they can keep it unlocked because they're in code with the fire escape being able to get out, but it's on the side of the building, so there's no way to monitor who goes in and who goes out. I think that's the issue with locking.
Oh.
It's not in the front; it's on the side.
Oh, there's a different door.
Construction area.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, where the mailroom is?
It's by the outside elevator. You know where the vending machine is, where you come in from the park.
So the stair that we have, the metal door, is not where we exit when we come down the stairs?
No, it's on the side of the building.
So you actually exit outside?
Yes.
Well, one thing you should know, Luke, is that when you take the stairs down, you're going to end up outside the building. And then you don't have a fob yet. And you may have to wait a little bit for the guy to let you back in. Just because today's Thanksgiving and all that, right? Oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
So that's the deal right now. But we're okay until 6 with elevator doorman. He's also working on that.
Hey, Luke, did you get the phone number from the whiteboard? Just in case you're stuck outside. Just take the phone number with you.
Making my brain break. Might should when I for the elevator.
I'll kind of remind everybody what it's for, but essentially, yeah, for the elevator.
If you'd like to get back in the building, it's a very.
When we do our little thing, they're going to use their phones for Cahoots. I can remind them again to download Slack if they haven't already, because that's how they can get to us at least.
Okay. It's a good idea. Oh, so what we had decided was career services at the very end. Yeah. I'll try and finish a little bit early, so that way you guys finish at 12. You need 15 minutes or so, right?
It's not long. Yeah,
when I'll pull up the slides right now. Okay. So do you want to do a tour now, or do you want to?
I think Sarah's doing the tour.
Yeah, she is? Okay.
If that's the case, then we can come set up while they're doing a tour, unless you have more to say.
No, we can do a tour now. Yeah.
Do you want?
There is more. I mean, I do have slides after this.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, we could do a quick.
Just to break it up.
Yeah. But given this group size, we probably want to break it out into groups. No.
Yeah.
For the tour? Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'm in, like dead in the middle of ESI, so do you mind trying to do my Monday
Yeah, no
stuff?
problem. And then, will you be taking them into the co-working side here with the door code? Okay, I can give that to you. Sarah, when you do a tour, or you might have done one recently, do you plan to take them into the co-working side as well?
No.
No. So don't bother, basically.
No.
But then there's this space, and then there's cater over there where you're not supposed to go anyway.
Yeah. I'll
So
show
between-
them where it is, but I'm not gonna be like, go check it out because it's locked and.
Okay. And we're not doing tour, obviously, to gym or anything like that.
No.
I did mention that they can access the gym. That's not a lie, right? They just need to fill out a form?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have access.
Is everyone back? We'll
Uh,
split up into two groups.
but
One
you
can
can-
go down the center.
Okay.
Sure. People said I'll take this one.
Are there anything like notable things that you usually do for tours?
I usually just point out kitchen, do your dishes. This is where staff sit. You're welcome to sit here or in the other lounge, and then the washrooms.
And talk about meeting room policy in terms of you can't squat in those rooms?
Yeah.
No, but we do book them for the right times. For example, tech interviews, things like that. We take care of that stuff. If we screw up, they can obviously, like, if there's a problem, then they can talk to us. But generally, we won't book
They
rooms
don't have access to
for
consent,
groups.
but
Yeah.
they can chat to their education team if they need one.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you go that way and I'll go the other way, so we don't.
Sure. So we don't.
See, stretching our legs already.
It is still currently this co-working space, so just be mindful of noise depending on the time of the day. But it's kind of just a nice place to hang out and just like that. Fun. And you can use the keyboard too. There's some headphones there if you want to pop them on if it's short lecture or anything like that. Our education staff sits right here. Katie sits in the corner over there, but our education manager and David, our education coordinator, also sit over here. So if you do need their support, they'll be right here. And then, and just on this side is where the rest of our staff sit. Yeah. And you can come talk to any of us, really, if you've got something to talk about. We've all got different backgrounds, different expertise, so one of us can be able to answer you the best we can. Can I ask something? Yeah. The mentors, where would they mentors will be sitting in your space over there. If there is like an event or if there's a reason that seating is displaced, I recommend you put in your assistance request where you're sitting. If you're sitting like, I'll show you guys the other space. If you're sitting in the kitchen for some reason, just pop in assistance request, so they can find you a little bit easier. But they just kind of roam around. Head this way. You guys can put up your posters stuff if you want.
There's 2 rows of desks on that.
Yeah, yeah. We made some adjustments. There was a company sitting here. Now they're sitting elsewhere, and so we moved staff here.
Programming. It's more of a flex space. If there's no one in here, you're welcome to sit here. But if someone books the room, you can book it through calendars. You may be asked to leave. Same goes for all of these rooms. As students, you can't access them and you can't book them. So please keep that in mind. Try not to sit in them because we do have a co-working space that uses these ones as well. If you have a tech interview or something that you can have more like private conversation, these will be booked for you from the education team. So that's all taken care of for you. I have to shake it like 6 in a row now, and then I had a lot of cashews. You're welcome to use this space as well. Our co-working space uses this too, but this place usually ends up being a little bit more quiet, and this is a good place to get some quiet work done as well. And the kitchen, you guys are familiar with.
They're just in the kitchen now. We did took a break at the same time, but then the kitchen is full. I guess that's why they're waiting here. Sorry, guys. In our original space that we were in Vancouver, Launch Academy, for those of you who've heard of Launch Academy, they had 2 of those coffee machines. Yeah, but there was a way bigger kitchen. They even had events in that kitchen. The picture of that still? Yeah. Oh, is there still on our website? Marketing. Okay. Our education department is stronger than our marketing department. I'll just say that. Actually, before you welcome back people, sorry, I got an update on the elevators. So there is going to be somebody here till 6 p.m., but the elevators still are like, we can't use them, like the fobs won't work. So they basically have to like override and stuff. You can take you can and should take the stairs down. It's only 6 floors. You cannot take the stairs back up. They're locked, and the stairs don't take you to the one near the concierge. They actually take you outside. So once you're outside, you can get back in with your fob, but then you have to hopefully put that number into your phone. If nobody's there, then you'll have to wait a little bit, a few minutes, for that person to then finish their rounds and come back down to let you up again. So if you are going for lunch, try to go in groups, basically, right? You can call the number to take the elevator down as well if you want to, but if you have the option, take the stairs is my suggestion. So we have that figured out until 6. What I don't have an answer for is what happens after 6 when mentors want to get here and so on. We're working on that to figure that out. Cool? Cheers. KV, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Teddy, right?
Yes.
There's a Ted and a Teddy in this class.
Yes. I guess you just increase your probability of getting right now. So, there were some emails that came out in September that I did not get because I only got admitted October 1st. So, for example, the Slack channel, and I believe also there was one relating to like the holidays and all that stuff that I did not actually get because I think those were sent sometime mid-September.
Got it.
So I need to just
Yep.
get those.
So
emails.
what we can, they probably came through admissions, I assume, from Pam.
I imagine,
But I don't know the exact details, but I will make sure that that's on her radar.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, I can add you to the Slack channel right now if you want. Are you not in the Slack channel right now?
No, I never got the invite.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do that right now. Oh, you know what? I'll do it right after class. It's not like an urgent
Sure,
thing.
it's not urgent, yeah.
But remind me after class because I will forget.
For sure.
That's like one thing I'm really
For
good
sure.
at is just being very forgetful.
Yes,
Okay.
don't worry about it.
Okay, thanks. Testing. Is everybody back? Do we know? Looks like everybody's back, right? There was nobody sitting next to you, right? You were the okay, cool. Looks good. How's everybody doing? How was the tour? Good. You guys all know where the washrooms are now? The most important part. This image is both interesting and gross all at the same time, isn't it? Like, what is even going on there? So let's resume. We're going to be talking details about what each week is going to be like, probably tomorrow. I was hoping that I would maybe cover it today, even though it's normally a part of tomorrow. So tomorrow's lecture in the morning, the lecturer will likely spend 15 minutes going deeper into curriculum stuff with you guys. If he decides not to, then he'll send you the slides. It's literally just a bunch of slides that show you kind of what each week look like. Not a big deal for them to go through it. But here what I'm going to do is just tell you about like what a typical day looks like for most of the weeks and most of the days. Okay. There are some days that don't look like this, but most of them, especially for the first half of the program, look like this, which is that lecture starts at 10 a.m. Now we moved it from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. very recently. I was a lot more forgiving of students being 5 minutes late due to transit or because they're not a morning person or whatever when it was a 9 a.m. lecture. I don't think you have an excuse when it's a 10 a.m. lecture. You should still aim to be here at 9 a.m. in case you're learning a little bit late or whatever. Please don't aim for 10 a.m., right? Because we know what that will result in with the bus system and all that over here. So lectures will last 2 hours, kind of is the maximum, but we hope that they, not that I'm ever good at this, but they're supposed to hopefully take an hour and a half, maximum 2 hours. You have different lecturers. I'm one of them. There are many here that, like we said earlier, the staff lineup is usually like to that door. Like there's quite a few people that work with us that sit there, but they're of course on holiday today. But you will get to meet your instructors over time, right? And every day is a different instructor potentially. So tomorrow's could be, it's not me actually, it might be someone else, right? It's definitely going to be someone else. And so they all bring different styles and different flavors to their approach. Some are better at like using slides, whereas I'm terrible at using slides, as you probably noticed. And I'm better at more of a using our code editor and things like that, and actually using the code editor for slides. So I generally stay away from them. This is probably the only lecture you'll see me use slides. So everybody has their style and their strengths. Some are good at being generalists. Others are great at design and React and front end stuff. Others are good with Ruby, Rails, those kind of things. So they all bring their strengths. Then at 12, you immediately after lecture, essentially, mentors start coming in. So today at 12, we'll somehow have to figure out how the mentors are going to get up the elevator. But essentially, they'll be here until 5 p.m. And then at 5 p.m., there's a 1 hour break. Let's call that a dinner break, if you will, or a shift changeover break where there's no mentors on the floor. Right? So just keep in mind that when you're asking for help, that between 5 and 6, there will likely be none. So just take that time for yourself, whether you want to go to the gym or have dinner or go grab dinner or something. Come 6 o'clock, it resumes, and 6 to 9 p.m. you have mentors available. Obviously, there'll be a different, if we let's say have 5 mentors during the day based on the number of students in here, let's just use that as an assumption. There won't be 5 in the evening. 6 to 9. There might be like 3 or 4 or something like that. We'll bring it down a little bit because of just what we've noticed with demand, right? It's a little bit lesser in the evening. Fridays, I call them, now with the new curriculum, I call them Fundamental Fridays. And essentially there's a little bit less in terms of mentorship support because the content actually for Fundamental Fridays is a lot more around, fundamentals. So there'll be a test usually on a Friday, not every Friday, but usually. There will not be a lecture. So instead of your lecture time, you'll actually have a test. The tests are non-collaborative. They're pretty much the only part of the course that you cannot collaborate with your peers or anybody. And there are no evening mentors on Fridays. You can leave at 6 if you feel like you have the ability to do that. You're welcome to stay. Again, this is 24/7 access. Right? There is no locking up or opening up in the morning. You literally have your pass that you'll get, hopefully today, that you will use to come in and out. Right? We used to not have any weekend support when we first started 6 years ago. And we started noticing that certain weekends, especially midterms, finals, there's a high demand for people kind of feeling too uncomfortable on the weekends and needing mentor support. So some weekends will have Saturday only for 4 hours, one person, so it's very limited, or sometimes Saturday and Sunday, depending on the intensity of the weekend. So it's a much more limited thing. You can choose to come in or you can maybe Slack them during that scheduled time. You'll know on Slack, we communicate a lot through Slack, if there's any variance to this, or if there's anything specific you need to know about the weekend, right? So if you have a lot of questions about, well, what timing on the weekends? Who's going to be on shift? All those things, you'll know closer to the time. Again, just-in-time learning, right? Yep, question? No, sorry. To clarify, you do not have to come in on the weekend. You will have, I should mention, you will have approximately 8 to 10 hours of curriculum work on the weekend. So think of it like a 6-day-a-week program, if you want. You can decide to split that up however you want on the weekend, half-half, or whatever. But plan to spend about 6 to 10 hours on just scheduled content. And that content, as you might guess, prepares you for the next week. It's kind of like your mini prep course for the next week. It is crucial. It is mandatory. If you don't do it, you will feel behind on Monday. Right? So basically, if you've made plans for the next 3 months for weekends, my suggestion is make alternate arrangements. Welcome to boot camp. Hopefully admissions already set that expectation with you. If they haven't, let me know. I talked about pair programming, and it's a word that you may have heard of, and I won't spend too much of time today talking about it, but just know that this is a thing that we employ as a learning tool, but it's actually a tool that's used in the industry. There are actually software companies who are fully pair programmed. What I mean by that is when it comes to building a feature or fixing a bug, 2 people sit together in said company and actually work on it together off essentially one computer. Or maybe the other computer is used for research. We'll get into what pair programming is, how to do it constructively, and how to use it as a learning tool. It's really cool because you basically get to know other people in the classroom as well, so it's a great way to learn about other people and work with them and see how they collaborate and how they think. That's something you'll be doing starting week 2 in the program, like officially. But you can do that earlier if you feel, right? There's also the idea of peer helping, right? Like, don't be afraid to, if you're ahead and you're just like, maybe you're 1 assignment or 2 assignments ahead of someone, you could go faster, or you could take that time to be like, how are you guys doing on this table that I'm sitting on? I just finished this, where are you guys at? Maybe I can help out or whatever. This is a great learning tool. If I ask most of the mentors why they teach here, because they're software developers first, teacher second, why are they doing it? They say because teaching is one of the best ways to learn, right? That's one of the reasons that they do it. So same with you guys. Taking that opportunity to help your peers is great. And feel free to ask your peers for help as well. Don't be embarrassed about that. It's a great way to get to know your cohort. And even code reviews. Like, you don't just have to help unblock each other. You could even compare your results afterwards and be like, you know, I solved it this way. How did you solve it? Let's review and compare how that went. Bring in a mentor if you really don't understand which one's a better approach, right? So those are great approaches to #winning in this program. Slack is a major tool used here. You're almost all of you are in the channel. If you're not in the channel, let me know. And our teachers hang out there as well, right? So you haven't met the full-time teachers that we have or the part-time teachers that we have, except for me. You'll start to get to know their personalities through Slack and through in-person contact. Any kind of, again, event details and stuff like that will be shared here. Career Services will communicate about their events, their breakouts and lectures with you through Slack as well. I encourage you to have a presence here and to monitor this during the day. This is kind of what a lot of dev shops use as well. So you're going to get comfortable using this even on the job. Might as well get comfortable using it now. Every cohort has its own personality. I find some of them are very quiet on Slack, and others there's just like there's just like threads and threads of like memes or funny shit or cool articles or whatever. So you guys get to choose which kind of cohort you want to be, or something in between, right? This is your main tool, Compass. You all have had ample experience with it. If you log into Compass right now, you might have already done that. You'll see that it shows you quite a bit more stuff than just the prep course. If it doesn't, please come talk to me. But essentially, you will see not just the prep course and be able to revisit that if you want, but the schedule for every day, right? You'll notice in the top right, what do you see in the top right when you're in Compass right now? Request assistance. For those of you who heard, I noticed one of the groups, Sarah was talking about requesting assistance. You can click that button now if you want to see what it does. It basically gives you a little bit of a modal or a pop-up saying, what's up? Like, what can we help you with? And that is going to be your primary way of raising your hand in the classroom. When we first started and I had 6 students and I was the only teacher, we did raise hands for help, right? But that doesn't really work with 20, 30, 40, 50 people in the classroom, right? It's not a fair system because you can quickly find some students are just better at raising their hands at the right time when they catch someone's eye, right? So it didn't work as a fair system. And this allows us a lot more of a data-driven approach as well, because all that stuff gets, logged, which is really cool. So I do encourage you to use the request assistance button whenever you need to ask for mentor help. There'll actually be something we call the wall board, which after lecture I'll switch to. And the wall board shows the situation of the queue. So you actually get to see how many people are in the queue, who's next in the queue. And if you click that button, it'll even tell you which position you are in the queue. So those are all things we've incrementally improved based on feedback. Right? Ultimately, after lecture today, after this annoying class with me that you have, you will switch to Compass and Slack, and mainly you'll be using Compass for your what am I doing next, right? So you'll see the lecture in there, you'll have just completed the lecture, and then you'll go into the next activity for the day. Just like you would in the prep course, except it's a lot more, it's focused on the day. Again, when you get to the end of the day, or if you get to the end of the day, feel free to work on the stretch or on the next day stuff and bank the stretch if you want, or do a mix and match. Any questions about Compass? Is there anything in there that you see that you don't understand? You'll find there's a bunch of stuff I haven't talked about, like projects and tech interviews and other things that you can search and things like that. That'll become revealed to you as you need to understand it. So again, just-in-time learning on that stuff. Any questions? Am I rambling too much? Are you guys able to focus still? Yeah? Am I talking too fast? Just running on coffee here, so apologize. All right, we're near the end here, but we definitely don't want to leave you without talking about some really important kind of guidelines around how we operate in the space. We do our level best to operate a very inclusive and safe environment here at Lighthouse Labs and at DevHub, right? DevHub is the whole space. Lighthouse Labs is a part of it. Yes, they're both essentially the same company, but one of the things we did is we wanted to make sure that we're always in a community space. So when we moved out of somebody else's community space, we created our own. What that means is that there's other people that are not just students at Lighthouse that use the meeting rooms, that use the kitchen, that you're going to hopefully have conversations with. Our philosophy to this community-driven education, as I call it, is to bring people together to help learn. And so it is a very professional environment. It's not like a traditional school. This is a workplace and a professional learning space for people. So if you haven't already, please read the code of conduct that we've got in Compass. If you have read it a long time ago because you did the prep course a long time ago, please quickly scan it today, right? Go through the code of conduct because we take that quite seriously. So the important stuff around that is kind of our goal. Why does the code of conduct exist? It's for this reason, right? It's to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and not in any way kind of feeling uncomfortable in terms of something that is said or something that happens. If you do hear something that makes you feel uncomfortable and you don't want to call a person out right then and there because it may put them in an awkward situation. They say something that's offensive to you. Please come and talk to any of the staff. It doesn't have to be the GM. It doesn't have to be me if you're not comfortable with that. If you want to talk to any of the staff, just be like, hey, this kind of was mentioned. I wasn't feeling comfortable about it. What do you think? And should we do anything about it, right? Have that conversation with us. We want to do anything that we can to support you in your learning journey here, which includes making this a safe environment that you feel like you all want to be a part of versus feeling isolated or uncomfortable for non-educational reasons, right? Any questions about that? No? And similar to that, open and friendly culture. We do our level best to be very approachable. We talked about quirky facts on day one. It's about being humble. It's about being kind of open and knowing that we don't have all of the answers, and sometimes we make mistakes in terms of what we say and not to take things too personally. But also that if you are somebody who accidentally says something that offends someone, please be open-minded about that stuff, because as a society, as a culture, especially in tech, you may already know this, it's going through quite a bit of a transformation for the better compared to where it was 10, 20 years ago in terms of the things that were said, in terms of the company cultures that used to be, especially in tech, were not very good in terms of diversity, we're not very good in terms of inclusivity. And we, given that we're a big part of the community here in Vancouver and across Canada, we do our level best to kind of make sure that that's a tone that we set from the beginning, so that when you graduate and you go into these tech companies, you have the same expectations of them, and then they can have the same expectations of you, right? So please keep that in mind. Nobody's out to get you, right? We're all essentially trying to create a good environment for ourselves. So, do what makes sense to you in terms of how you want to approach things that make you uncomfortable. Right? Any questions or additional comments on stuff that I said? Near the end here. You don't know most of these people because they didn't introduce themselves today. Normally they do, but today's a holiday. Davey's out in Calgary actually running their day one. He's your education manager here. So what that means is that he, along with David, who is also on the slide, number 3 here, they are non-tech. Well, actually, Davey graduated from our program. He was a grad. He even mentored with us for 4 years, and then came and worked with us as an education manager. So he manages the entire teaching team, essentially, part-time teachers and all that kind of quote unquote report into him. He creates their schedules. He gives them feedback. So he kind of keeps an eye on his mandate as education manager is success of the students. So he's the glue between the students, campus, and the teachers, right? So he knows the curriculum really well because he's graduated from the program. He can actually mentor if he wanted to, but he's focused more on kind of logistics and student support. So if you are, those 5 rules that we talked about, if you want to talk about them, or if you're feeling really uncomfortable or really behind, or you find yourself kind of struggling with something and you're not happy about it, he's a good person to go to. But again, it doesn't just have to be him. David actually works alongside Davey. So essentially they work hand in hand to handle all the different conversations that happen in the space. Nima is actually our lead instructor. So you get a lot of lectures with Nima. He is amazing, way better than I am when it comes to lectures, and yeah, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite instructors here. I think you guys will love him. Travis has joined us a little bit more recently. Nima's been with us for a couple of years now, I believe. And Travis has joined us recently and is also phenomenal. Nima and Travis, I think, are like best friends as well, so it helps. They both went to SFU together. Remy is your general manager. So he's the one that like essentially all the staff report into. He makes sure that you're having a great experience from a space perspective. Anything that needs to get escalated gets escalated to him, essentially. Right, so these are the people to know. This is just a nobody. Don't worry about him. But if you do want to come talk to me, as Sarah pointed out to some of you, I sit right there. I sit in the same space as you guys. We don't have offices here. We don't have closed doors. I love nerding out about software. So if you want to even just Slack me something, some cool article or whatever. I'm bad at monitoring all the Slack channels, so I probably won't be very active in your Slack channel, just because I have like a million of them. But you can mention me. You can be like at KV because there's an interesting article about education or about open source or about software. Those are the 3 things I love nerding out about, and food. So if there's something about food, I should know about it. Okay, but come talk to me about anything. It could be about lecture. It could be about mentoring. It could be a concern. If you want to talk to me instead of Davey or David, there's no real right or wrong here. Come talk to one of us for whatever you want to talk to us about. There are many other teachers aside from this. Across Canada, we have about 140 to 150 active part-time teachers working with us. And those are our main mentors. Those are the ones that you might have a tech interview with, or they may even do a lecture. For example, Andy in there, he's a grad of ours from, I think, a year ago. He's lecturing with us. He does mentoring. He gets amazing reviews. He's probably better than lecturing than I am. And he's part-time with us. He works full-time as a developer for a crypto company, I believe, like a crypto trading company. Does amazing software development. And he's one of your teachers. So you can actually relate to the program a lot more. Some of them are not graduates of our program. Many of them are not graduates of our program, but they understand the curriculum and they understand they have more years of experience with software development. So you get that nice mix as well, right? You get alumni that are involved, and you get non-alumni that are maybe 10 years in or something like that are involved. Most of your teachers are part-time teachers, right? I did not want a lot of full-time teachers. Many boot camps will just have part-time, full-time staff, and that's it. And they'll like dedicate a teacher to a cohort. Whereas we take the opposite approach of actually you get a whole bunch of teachers involved. There's obviously pros and cons. What are some of the pros of having so many different teachers instead of one dedicated teacher for a cohort, like some other schools do? Definitely, you get a lot different experiences when it comes to what they can relate to and apply that to your challenge that you're dealing with at the time. What else? Yeah, various perspectives, right? We talked about software development being a craft. So, you get sometimes even conflicting perspectives about like, I think this is good code, or I don't think this is good code, and here's why, or I don't think you should do this for your final project, here's why, right? And somebody else saying the opposite. It's actually on you a little bit. One of the negatives is, of varying perspectives, is you have to kind of then drive a little bit more in terms of understanding and synthesizing all that and making decisions, which I think is also a positive, right? But it can sometimes, I've seen it sometimes really confuse students, especially like during final projects or something like that. What else? Positives or negatives of having a lot of different teachers? What are some negatives? What's the more obvious negative that you can think of versus a dedicated teacher for your cohort? Yeah, they kind of have a more stronger relationship with that cohort, and they can kind of every lecture is with that same person every morning, right? So they kind of know that they have a continuity of what was lectured yesterday. Whereas our lecturers, you know, tomorrow is going to be different than today, so they'll have to kind of see what was discussed yesterday, and they may not know the full context, right? So there may be some inefficiency there and some lack of continuity. So we have to be mindful of that as an institution. Any other negatives or positives? Yeah, definitely. We do a town hall when it comes to, I think, week 3, day 1, so 2 Mondays from now. Is that 2 Mondays or 3 Mondays from now? Anyway, brain's not working. Essentially, in week 3, Monday, you will have a town hall where we'll sit in that room, I think, not me, Remy and Davey and other people will sit in that room with you, and you'll actually provide feedback on how things are going, both from a curriculum standpoint, space perspective, as well as teachers. And invariably, we get feedback about certain teachers positively, other teachers we need to course correct, and things like that. So definitely, you get different styles, and some people gravitate towards one versus the other. Oh, I should mention, in Compass, anytime you receive help, like through the request assistance, you're also prompted for feedback after. So you can actually give us real-time kind of like, this is how I felt about this assistance. You know, 4 stars because of this, or 5 stars because this was awesome, here's why. So like that Uber-style rating system, essentially, for every engagement with every mentor. You can choose to not if it feels like there's too many, but wherever you feel feedback is important, please do provide it. We take that stuff very seriously and we look at that. That's, again, some of the major roles that are played by our education team is to look at all the data that's coming in terms of curriculum feedback, as well as teacher feedback. Any questions before we adjourn? Yeah? Definitely on Compass. Yeah, Slack is not meant for, I should have clarified that. Slack is not meant for requesting for help. Maybe on the weekend, if you know there's only 4 hours on one person, and you're not in the space, then you can mention them on Slack in your channel, or direct message them during those times. But everything else in the weekday, you're using Compass request assistance. And I would even argue on the weekend, you hit the request assistance button, they're monitoring the queue, and then you can be like, hey, I'm not in the space, can we have a quick conversation on Skype or whatever it may be. Great questions so far. Very engaged cohort. I like that. Any other questions or things that you feel like should have been covered that I didn't talk about? How are we doing for time? Perfect. It's 11:40. We want to spend about 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes with you. I know you're itching to kind of get going with the stuff in Compass, which you'll do right after. But before that, we'd like to spend some time with you with the Career Services team. Leanne and Kelly will just sort of talk about career services, because I assume many of you here want to talk about that and know about what comes after those 3 months, right? Or what happens during the 3 months in terms of preparing you for what comes after. So they'll be speaking with you about that a little bit. And while they're getting set up, I'll just mention what's happening with the elevator situation, because it's kind of important, especially because you might want to go for lunch. So we have some updates, thanks to Kelly and Leanne kind of talking with the security over there. The elevators still aren't working with our access cards, which you don't have anyway yet. You'll get them soon. But even if you did have them, you wouldn't be able to use them today. There's a phone number on the whiteboard that you should write down. That is the phone number of the person that's on duty. It goes to their cell phone in case you're locked outside or something. But in order to get down, please don't call that number unless you really need to use the elevator. Like if you're okay with walking down 6 floors of stairs, then please do that. When you walk down the stairs, you'll exit the building immediately, like essentially it takes you outside. Which means to come back in, because it's a holiday, you need your fob, which you don't have. So when you get back to the front after doing whatever you want, lunch or whatever, you may have to like kind of knock on the door or glass door or something. Worst case, call that number if nobody's there at the security to let you back up. This is really annoying and not the norm. We're not happy with it. It just like a series of unfortunate events where it's a holiday and the elevators aren't working. It's a first for us here, so I apologize for that. That's up until 6 o'clock. There is supposed to be somebody who's basically helping us get up and down the elevators if we need it, right? Come 6 o'clock, we don't have an answer. Like what happens between 6 to 9 p.m., how are teachers getting up, things like that. We're in the process of figuring that out. that okay? So for lunch, feel free to take the stairs down, or if you want to take the elevators, please just form a group and then call that number so that you can go down as a group. So it's not up, like it's not as inefficient for the person. So that's that. You guys are set up?
Yeah, we're just
Awesome. Did you want to record this or not bother? It's not really that good. Okay.